kids, welcome to Take 2. There's just something about a campfire. It keeps you warm, gives light, gets rid of the bugs, and is a great place to cook marshmallows and hot dogs on a stick. And don't forget how fun it is just to sit around and talk. It's just a tradition that comes with camping. In the Old Testament, there was something called an altar that would be very similar to today's campfire. It had wood, fire, and even rocks. People would offer God something that was very important to them on an altar. In today's story, God tested a man to see if he was willing to give up what was most important to him. In the last few weeks, we have seen God make and keep a covenant with Abraham, and then pass it on to Isaac. Does anyone remember what God promised? Who came to save us as part of that promise? Today, we're going to learn about how God tested Abraham. How many of you ever had a test? Today, we'll find out if Abraham passed or failed his test. Always remember, the Bible tells God's plan to save us and how we should live out his plan. Let's take a look at today's big picture question. How shall we believe God's plan? God has a plan for each one of us that fits into his overall plan for the whole world. That's a lot to think about. It's also a reminder of just how wonderful the God we serve is. This is our last week with Genesis 17:7 as our key passage. This promise was given to Abraham, then to Isaac. It can also be yours if one day you choose to follow God by trusting Jesus. It's time to look at our lesson to find the answer to our big picture question. After waiting for years to have the child God promised him, Abraham was asked to do something very strange. He was asked to give up Isaac, to sacrifice him. This meant Isaac would die. God's people routinely gave sacrifices to him, but the sacrifice was usually an animal, never a person. A sacrifice was given to God to express love, thanksgiving, or the need to be forgiven. In this case, it was a test of obedience. Abraham passed the test, and God provided a substitute for Isaac. But can you imagine how Abraham must have felt when he was told to sacrifice his only son? Abraham showed that he truly believed God and God's covenant with him. How can we show we believe God's plan? We obey God even when he asks us to do things we don't understand. It seems unfair, but God didn't ask Abraham to do something God himself wasn't willing to do. John 3:16 tells us God gave his only son as a sacrifice for our sins. He was punished as our sacrifice so we wouldn't have to be. God just asks us to follow his plan for our lives. Sometimes we may be asked to do something that we just don't understand or don't want to do. Has this ever happened to you? Whether we do it or not has a lot to do with how much we trust the one who's asking. God asked Abraham to do something that would be hard to understand and something Abraham would not have wanted to do. Abraham was willing to obey God no matter what. Are you? Well, that's all I got for this week, kids. Bye!